Uh-oh. Okay, we'll start with this. Yesterday, on the West Coast, as part of a 360 promotion show, reigning WBO Super Flyweight champion Mizuki Hiruta was able to successfully defend her WBO title against former champion Maribel Ramirez, putting on display all the things she's been working on: distance, spacing, shot selection, engaging and disengaging an oncoming opponent. The youngest of the three reigning champions in the super flyweight division. Fight was stopped in the 8th round on cuts, a bad cut over Maribel Ramirez's eye. So Mizuki was able to retain the WBO title. Mizuki, who made the decision to travel to America, train abroad, soak up Mexican culture. Mexican fighting. Yesterday was her U.S. debut. Before yesterday, she had never fought on U.S. soil. Did a good job. Sporting a professional record of 7 wins now. 7 wins, no losses, no draws, 2 knockouts. She's a strong puncher. She's got power. If you've seen her in action, then you can see that plain as day. What she's working on is being able to effectively deliver that power. Power only counts as much as your ability to land. And what is a changing super flyweight landscape, the other two champions, Irma Garcia, holding the IBF, and Ashley Gonzalez holding the WBC. The WBA title currently is vacant as a result of Clara Lescurat's retirement. I would like to see Mizuki Hiruta in at least 1 or 2 more fights, just like this one, before she decides to go after one of the other champions, before she decides to unify titles. I would like to see her amass a bit more experience, because even though she's a champion, she only has 7 fights. The other 2 belt holders have a lot more fights and a lot more rounds, a lot more experience than Mizuki does, averaging 1 fight a year for the last 2 or 3 years. She only fought once in 2023, only fought once last year, and she's had her very first fight of this one. I would like to see her in action at least 2 more times this calendar year before she targets champion. Sparsely active. And perhaps Tom Loeffler and 360 Promotions can help her with that. Mizuki is not with a major promotional outfit. None of the champions at Super Flyweight are, and perhaps that's the reason they've never unified, that this is a division that has stood divided for some years now. And with none of the belt holders at this weight being promoted by a major promotional outfit having much money behind them, not only is it hard to land a unification match, it's hard to just stay active, stay busy. Mizuki did yesterday. She looked good. She looked the part. Hopefully Tom Loeffler, 360 Promotions, can bring her back for another couple of fights. The WBA title? The WBA title is now registered as vacant on the WBA's website as a result of Clara Lescurat's retirement. Ranked at number 1 is Mexico's own Regina Chavez. Ranked at number 2 is Maribel Ramirez, who Mizuki Hiruta just beat. And as a result of that loss, I have no doubts that Maribel will lose some ground in these ranked standings. Ranked at number 3 is Pennsylvania's own Liana Cruz, who's going to be in action later on today. Against Amy Naert, I have Liana Cruz winning that fight. Liana is someone to keep an eye on, because very soon she may be fighting for the full WBA title if she takes care of business later on today. In a fight that's scheduled for 8 rounds. Hard to conjure that a fighter like Liana Cruz, who's never even fought in a 10-rounder before, very soon could be fighting for a WBA title. But that's how it breaks down. Regina Chavez and Liana Cruz are the top 2 seeds in the WBA's ranks. And the next WBA Super Flyweight champion could be decided between them. That's the lay of the land In the super flyweight division,
Over in men's boxing,
Ryan Garcia says, I'm excited to vindicate my victory against Devon Haney. Commerce, California, the way Ryan Garcia sees it, the same fighter who crushed Devon Haney in the ring 9 months ago is ready to repeat his performance throughout a planned 3-fight series that awaits the two rivals starting in May. Garcia, 24-1 with 20 knockouts, appearing at a 360 Promotions card on Friday night to watch his friend Roxy Verduzco fight at the Commerce Casino, spoke for the first time since he posted on social media that he will stage a May comeback fight against former 140-pound champion Isaac Cruz, and then turn to an October rematch against former 2-division champion Haney in Saudi.
I'd tell him to keep his hands up, Garcia said of Mexico's free-swinging Cruz.
There are still some people that don't like the idea of two American nationals like Devon and Ryan fighting in Saudi instead of on U.S. soil.
Better in Saudi than nowhere. Without the Saudis' involvement, we might not even be getting this rematch.
Ryan said, I'm excited to vindicate my victory that I deserved rightfully, and I'm ready to kick his ass again and shove it in Bill's face again, Garcia told Boxing Scene. It's gonna feel just as good as the first time. Garcia is suspended by the New York State Athletic Commission until April 20th, and he must pass at least one test by the New York State Athletic Commission and enroll in a voluntary anti-doping association testing program soon for the fights to proceed. Something he said he's thrilled about. But what that essentially means is, from the time that the suspension came down, Ryan hasn't been tested by anybody. Saudi Arabian power broker Turkey El Sheikh is planning for the early May event to be staged outdoors in New York's Times Square before taking Garcia to Saudi for 2 more fights. These fights are going to be great, Garcia said. They pay such good money, the Haneys are going to say yes. I was just kind of shocked at all of it. How are we going to do this fight in Times Square? I guess that's what's going to be done. I don't think tickets are going to be sold, but I think everybody who's there can watch, which is pretty cool.
Garcia posted on X earlier Friday that he expects a tougher fight from Isaac Cruz than Devon Haney.
Tougher in that he's more rugged, a more aggressive fighter, will be fighting for the full 12 rounds, Garcia said. Devon's more trying to box and strategize. It's not like I have to worry. How's my face going to be after the fight? Garcia said also he's looking forward to Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford's fight that Al Sheikh is planning for the 4-division champions in September. Turkey's been making a lot of great fights happen. You can't really hate on it, Garcia said. Canelo's so big, strong, weight classes matter for a reason. Al Sheikh posted on X on Friday night that he would like to place a welterweight title fight between IBF champion Jaron Ennis and 2-division belt holder Teofimo Lopez on the October card of Garcia versus Haney, with the winners fighting each other at a later date. Let's do it. I want to fight. Teofimo too, Garcia said after visiting with Lopez at Friday's card. Meanwhile, Garcia said he's prepared to commit to drug testing. He's just a little apprehensive about adopting the Haney's choice of VADA. When a coach is pushing a certain organization, it strikes me as weird as being a mandatory thing, he said. But I don't want to talk about it because they might sue me.
They'd be well within their rights. You've been trying to make this their fault for 9 months.
I have my reservations about doping in the sport of boxing and the real role of anti-doping agencies within it, but more than that, I have a very low tolerance for stupidity and stupid arguments.
So are we supposed to now delegitimize VADA and their findings so that you can be innocent? Essentially delegitimize them for doing their job, for doing what you paid them to do. You paid them to test you, and they found you out.
And now this is the agency you don't want to use. You don't want to go ahead with VADA testing.
He says he wants to use somebody else.
Though according to Devon Haney, he hasn't been tested by anybody. Not VADA, not USADA, not nobody. Devon said, Ryan said, he would sign up for drug testing. He hasn't signed up for VADA or USADA. That's what's holding everything up. Maybe he's trying to get clean.
And they wonder why I have Devon Haney winning the rematch.
Ryan stated, if you really care about the integrity of the sport and it being clean, why would it matter who's testing me?
Well, nobody's testing you.
Wouldn't it be simply for me to get tested year-round by a credible organization instead of insisting it has to be a specific organization?
You mean the one that caught you?
Answer that question.
No, you answer this one. Is this your way of not being tested by the same organization that already caught you?
Because that's what it looks like, and they're not even the only one. The New York State Athletic Commission conducted a test of their own, and that one came back positive too, the same as the VADA test. Ryan continued, you don't find it strange that it is insisted it has to be VADA included.
CompuBox's Dan Canobio responded by saying, it seems to me it would make sense if you're both using the same agency.
Ryan replied by saying, you didn't answer the question.
And they wonder why I have Devon Haney winning the rematch. Without all the games and all the advantages and all the shenanigans from the first fight,
Ryan doesn't win the rematch. He's sandbagging it. He's dragging his feet. And it's very obvious why. So you're either dumb or playing dumb. Now you say that you destroyed Devon Haney, you beat him easy, so go in there and do it again. What's the problem? You do it now, it'll be for more money.
even more money.
Unlike before, you won't have to worry about the pay-per-view's upside, you won't have to worry about what it sells or what it does. You're gonna get a truckload of cash up front. And all you have to do is pounce on the same guy that you say you beat easy before.
What's the holdup?
It's quite the revelation that all this time, since the suspension came down, Ryan hasn't been tested by anybody. Not the New York State Athletic Commission, not by VADA, not by USADA, not by nobody. And that was a part of it.
He had to be tested. He had to turn in a negative test. And he hasn't done that yet, after all these months.
He's still sandbagging it now to avoid being tested. You say you want to hire someone else to do it, but you still haven't done that. How long does it really take to get the ball rolling with a USADA or a drug-free sport since you're so averse to using VADA? And what's wrong with VADA? They're clearly good at their job. You're not the only boxer they've caught in the act. That's the real reason you don't want to use them.
May as well be holding up a sign.
So are you gonna let giving a little bit of piss and a little bit of blood stand in the way of you and a multi-million-dollar payday, multi-millions? There's no bigger situation out there for you, no bigger fight. And the harder you fight this, the harder you push against it, the more obvious it is you're guilty. You were cheating. You knew you were cheating, and you're likely still cheating now in the off-season.
Between fights.
It's the implication that the fighters don't start using these banned substances at the beginning of a camp. They use them in between fights when they don't have one signed, so that by the time they do, they will have received the benefit of these banned substances. So when people say that all that they found in Ryan was an infinitesimal amount that couldn't possibly give him an advantage, that's all that they found, but that's not all that he used.
So that he hasn't been tested by anyone from the time that he was suspended till now lends credence to the notion that this guy's been using the whole time.
Why else would he be dragging his feet? With so much money on the table, so much opportunity, and all you have to do is beat up a guy you already beat.
Unless you can't beat him without your secret sauce.
As stated, if he even makes it to the Devon Haney fight, the rematch, I've got Devon winning. Men's junior middleweight news: with Errol Spence Jr. out, Sebastian Fundora is likely to fight in a non-pay-per-view. Unified junior middleweight champion Sebastian Fundora will likely move on to an Amazon Prime Video non-pay-per-view event on March 29th, following Thursday's news that former three-belt champion Errol Spence is withdrawn from their planned pay-per-view match scheduled for the same date. He pulled out. Finally, Fundora manager Samson Lukowicz told Boxing Scene on Thursday following the Spence news, first reported by ESPN, "I wish him good luck."
What do you mean, finally? You're the one who made the decision to wait for him, and you made that decision the night that your fighter beat Tim Tszyu, close to a year ago. This is your fault.
Spence, 34, hasn't fought since his brutal defeat at the hands of former undisputed welterweight and current WBA junior middleweight champion Terrence Crawford in July of 2023. In an interview with Boxing Scene's Tris Dixon in June, Spence laid bare the struggles he's endured from both the Crawford loss and the harrowing crash of his Ferrari in 2019. "I definitely worry about brain trauma. I have checkups all the time and always get scans and all types of stuff just to make sure I'm on point," Spence said. "Not too many people go high speed in a Ferrari and get thrown, land on solid concrete, and are still here to talk today. Still survive, still be coherent. That was traumatic and a brutal experience that I went through. It was definitely serious.
What transpired behind the scenes is not entirely certain, but Spence split with his longtime trainer Derek James, and they ultimately sued each other. And as the days neared towards the official start of training camp by month's end, Spence on Wednesday posted a few comments on X. "I'm trying to give you the best of me," he wrote, followed by, "Boxing is so messed up."
What's the messed up part?
Last month, WBO ruled it would not consider Spence its champion if he defeated Fundora because he was coming off a brutal knockout loss, has never fought at 154, and isn't ranked in the WBO's top 15.
WBO President Gustavo Olivieri told Boxing Scene that Fundora can defend the WBO title by fighting anyone in the sanctioning body's top 15, but if he chooses a non-ranked fighter and loses, the belt will go to interim title holder Terence Crawford, while a slew of known fighters in the sport's best division reside within the top 15, including number 1 ranked Xander Zayas, 2nd ranked Charles Conwell, former WBA champion Israel Madrimov, and Fundora's planned March opponent Sergey Bohachuk. It's believed Fundora and Lukowicz will look elsewhere for Fundora's first defense of both the WBO and WBC titles. One boxing official connected to Fundora's new opponent search said there has been interest in unranked Joey Spencer.
Heard about that, and according to Salvador Rodriguez of ESPN, the WBO has already refused Joey Spencer as an opponent option for Sebastian. They will not sanction that fight.
Likely for the aforementioned reasons they gave. Joey Spencer is not ranked by the WBO. What are you looking at him for? Premier Boxing Champions, which promotes Fundora, also offered 5th-ranked Chordale Booker, 23-1 with 11 KOs, although Booker has a planned February 15 bout on his schedule from which he would need to be extricated. One top 15 fighter who clearly wants to fight is Cleveland's Charles Conwell, 21-0 with 16 KOs, who told Boxing Scene on Thursday, "It's 2 belts. I'd be unified champion. I can beat this guy doing what I do, stick to the game plan, listen to my corner, and do what I do best."
Mismanaged. That's the word that immediately comes to mind when I think about Sebastian and this situation. Your manager made a conscious decision to wait for an Errol Spence Jr. fight for the last 9 or 10 months. And in the end, you didn't even get the fight. Looking for the low-hanging fruit.
Looking for an easy win, you've left your fighter stuck between a rock and a hard place. Depending on who he chooses, he may lose the brown belt.
He might.
Left in a compromising position to where whenever he fights, whenever that is, he'll be coming off a year of inactivity. All of that time squandered chasing a Spence fight that you never should have been after because you knew what happened to Spence. You knew what he was coming from.
You saw what Terence did to him, and you knew that he was out. You knew that he was already out for several months.
You pissed away the time chasing a fight you should have never been after. Trying to extend your fighter's reign as a champion, you may have inadvertently cut it short, because depending on who he fights, who he chooses, the WBO might strip him.
And the WBC?
They might be a little bit more lenient than the WBO, but it's only a matter of time before their mandatory challenger comes after you, whether it's Virgil Ortiz or Israel Madrimov. Whoever wins their fight, bottom line, you guys messed up.